And we are live.
Sound minds. Another Sunday for y'all, man. Where would you be if not here, right? So listen, this one right here, man, is another episode that's near and dear to me. It's one of my brothers, man, that I seen him glow and grow at the same time, man. And now that we've grown, it's a lovely sight to see my brothers prosper and definitely on all platforms, whatever they do, they're just successful, man. So yeah, and with that, you know what? Before I even introduce him, wanna at the same time apologize to everybody. So Kenny Anderson will not be joining us today. Some things got in the way, neither here nor there. So shout out to Kenny Anderson. I'm gonna say it again. Diehard Knick fan, but he's always been one of my favorite guards. You know what I'm saying? But if it ever happens, it happens. If not, then cool. Shout out to him and everything he's doing. He's busy. He got caught up with something. But nonetheless, man, we have an illustrious guest, man, my brother James Hunt, who started, co-founded, is the man when it comes to purpose-driven training and culture run, man. So shout out to my brother James Hunt. He's going to explain to y'all his business, what the business is, and how he not only is training youth and others with basketball, but also with the mind. And we're going to have a dope discussion about how basketball has changed and transferred, transferred in his life as to what it is that brought him the glories. So we're going to have a dope episode, y'all. So go tell your friends if you haven't yet. But we here. My brother James Hunt. Welcome, man.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Welcome.
So, and I got to tell you, man, I knew my brother since junior high, probably low, you know what I mean? Like it is, I know his family. Shout out to his brother Mason, man. That's my guy too, man. But I got to tell you, James, since day one, has always just been the A1. You know what I mean? Like always funny, always joking, but serious about that ball when it came down to that ball. You know what I mean? To see his growth spurt and see the weapons and the arsenal that he put within his weaponry. James was nasty on the court, man, and it's crazy. Years later, I seen him, training with some teams like the Lakers, man, training with, shout out to Smush Parker. He was training with him, you know what I'm saying? And then training others, man, and has trained so many people that it's become second nature. So to see him open up a business of this sort, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like second nature. So James, if you can, tell us what purpose-driven training is and tell us what culture run is.
Is a company that I formulated because as I look at youth basketball, I see that there's sometimes and as kids develop, and me just always wanting to get better in the game of basketball. I wanted to reach the highest level, and I look back and I formulated my company because there was times where I didn't have purpose in my workouts and in certain things that I should have done strategically that I just didn't know. I didn't have the education at the time. So basically I formulated my company based on what I needed from 7 years old to the pros, certain things, certain workouts, certain life lessons and on the court lessons that I needed. And I just said to myself, let me formulate a company, find my niche and just try to, inspire and help kids, on the basketball court, but in life. So that's purpose-driven training. It's a purpose into it. And it was inspired by how I read, certain, books and stuff like that. So, it inspired me to call my company Purpose-Driven Training. And then Culture Run is just how I see how the culture of basketball is. And I continuously adjust my levels of service based on the culture of what the culture of basketball needs on and off the court.
Powerful. Now, when did you, like when they say when you start a business, you find your purpose. When did, and obviously you said purpose driven, so you knew that this was your purpose, but like the purpose behind it, the purpose behind the purpose. Like, what was that? What was that ding moment?
That ding moment. to be honest with you, just growing up in New York City, not having the resources, growing up in the Lower East Side, just pretty much growing up, in the hood. It was very challenging, and I got an opportunity to. I was out here, and shout out to Smush Parker. Him giving me an opportunity to help train with him and, do certain things with him, manage him and stuff like that. And, when we got there, I didn't think, I was just all hard work, and I wanted to learn. But when he became the starting point guard for the Lakers, I got an opportunity to go to the practices. I got an opportunity to be at every game and see that what really high level basketball was, what Laker NBA basketball on a day-to-day basis. And at first I was, I was like, I was kind of a little starstruck. Let's just say it what it is. I was a little starstruck, and but I always wanted to learn. And then after like the first month of being there and seeing the guys in practice and see what they do and their tendencies, I started to I was on the phone with my dad. I'll never forget it. My dad was like, I was like, Dad, Kobe's this, Kobe's that, and, God bless the dead and everything. But he was like, James, at the end of the day, don't look at Kobe for his stardom. I know you personally, and I know you've put effort in your game so much. George could tell you, I'm up in the projects 5 o'clock in the morning, freezing cold, just working hard every single day, but not having that knowledge. He says there's a reason why he's on the platform he's at, and you're not. Now go find out why. So at that time, just being able to be that fly on the wall, I just started making friends with the organization and picking people's brains apart. Always obviously bothering Smush. How did he do that? How did he do that? Why did he do that? Certain things, footwork things, that I learned, and I would just ask coaches, and the coaches would just answer my questions. And what I did was, I just said to myself, imagine if I got all this information at 12 years old, 10 years old, stuff like that. I said, let me formulate a company and do that. And it just started from there. And then it just turned on to, transitioning, working for Magic Johnson and just developing kids.
That's definitely the ding moment right there. Like imagine.
Yeah, that's a gem. That's a gem right there.
Like you took all that information and then turned it into a business. That's powerful.
Jez, let me ask you a question. Throughout your history,
yes, sir,
with everything that you are now, who you are now, everything that you're doing for so many other people, do you personally can you speak about what it was like, if anything that you kind of went through, or anything that for the most part you learned from growing up from the Lower East Side, if there's anything that kind of gave you that extra edge, or anything that it gave you to help you transpire into where you are kind of currently are now, you know what I mean? And it takes levels, but what would you say helped you coming from the community that we came from and built who you became?
Well, growing up in the Lower East Side, survival. It's survival. A lot of
you might be holding the microphone. The microphone might be on the table and it's blocking off of some of your words. Do you got headphones?
Do I got headphones? Could you give me like 20 seconds?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, most def. I just want to make sure they can hear you clearly,
Hold on one quick second. My apologies.
Yeah, 20 seconds is just the simple fact that we want to make sure the audio is clear. Make sure y'all hit that like button if you are enjoying these gems being dropped right here on the Sound Minds podcast. And there's much more to come. Much more.
Right. And I want to take this time out, man. So in light of, I just want to definitely build and just let everybody know, Sound Minds never does any clickbaiting or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? So if we say somebody's going to come on for whatever the reason, it doesn't happen. It has nothing to do with us, or we faking the funk and putting people's faces to just try to get some audience. We don't do that. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to let it be known. You know what I mean? My brother, Dad is not in there. How you doing, man? Weekend is good so far, man. You know what I mean? Doing a little barbecue, man, out in that sun. And now we building with my brother James Hunt from Purpose Driven Training. You know what I'm saying? James, you with us? All right.
It's frozen.
Yeah. So
Oh, there he goes.
can you repeat the question again? I apologize.
Yeah, so I was just saying, in regards to where you come from, community wise, culturally, how do you feel like that impacted you or gave you anything extra that you would have needed to become the James Hunt of now and to have your purpose driven training and your culture?
Yes, 100%. You know how it is. You know how it is, George, and growing up in that environment. Um, if you move a certain way, if you don't move, if you don't carry yourself a certain way, growing up in LaGuardia houses and Rutgers and in those areas in New York of the Lower East Side or whatever projects you may come from, you'll get called out on your stuff. And one thing I learned about growing up in that environment is to always walk genuine and with integrity. So they really, nobody really bothers you if you carry yourself as a wholesome, respectable young man. You know what I'm saying? And even if like if problems may arise, that's one thing I realized about growing up in the Lower East Side. When problems arise to me, I always had people that was there to either defend me or look out for me because of what type of person I am. It just they looked out for me because I always carried myself with faith and love. You know what I'm saying? And respect of other people's environments and stuff like that, and being empathetic.
And no one would disrespect you, or they wouldn't let no one disrespect you based off of the respect that you carry.
Exactly. I mean, there was plenty of days. I mean, even in Rutgers, stuff could have went. Stuff was going left, and they were like, just in basketball games, fights would break out. I mean, just just because you lived across the street, and people always looked out for me because I just wanted to play basketball, but I wanted to win too at the same time. And I talk a little trash too, but I definitely showed love, and love always came back to me, and I'm forever grateful for the life lessons that Lower East Side taught me.
Facts, man. Appreciate those gems.
Yeah, I would definitely and I commend you, James, because truth of the matter is, brother, you and not because not because you're on the podcast. You know what I'm saying? I get the pleasure
Mm.
of telling you this live in front of people, man. But the one thing I loved about you is that you never fronted the role. You know what I mean? You never had to sit there fraudulently and be somebody else or try to chameleon skin yourself into certain situations. You always stood away from things, was all about ball and love. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember
Yeah.
you being, what I mean, loyal. So I appreciate that, brother, because we needed that balance, especially where we come from. It's a place of certain skins are made out of barbed wire just because of what we've grown of. You know what I mean? But at the same
Yeah.
time, the balance of not having to feel that when you were around, you was one brother, one individual. I never felt like there was any harm to come away or anything having any nonsense coming about just because of James might be one of them dudes that's dirty that is about to get caught up. Let me watch my surroundings around him. You know what I mean? So I love that, man. And that's one of the reasons you and your brother, man, always loved the way y'all carried yourselves. You know what I'm saying? And never fed into the nonsense, man. So, shout out to you, man. I salute you for that live on and public or in person, man. You know what I mean? The love
Yeah, I
is real and
appreciate
it's
that,
genuine.
man. Well,
Yeah,
definitely, I
yeah.
appreciate that, man. Same to you, man.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, yeah. So
I
let me
got.
ask you a question. Yeah, no, go ahead, go ahead. Ask your question.
I was gonna ask why. The why did like was it the love of basketball that that focus that kept you not falling into the wrong path, slipping up. You're like, why? What was that? And when you reflect on that, is that another testitude to why you have purpose driven training and your business that you're running?
Um. Uh. My father. When you have, there were certain times where I always wanted more, but not having the resources and not having certain things. And my dad, like, Yeah, we did. He did. You know, in the household, they did push education and stuff like that, but it was mainly basketball. Like in my mindset, growing up, I need a C because I needed to be eligible to play basketball. And there were, I mean, don't run. There were times where altercations did happen and stuff like that, and it was getting ugly. Growing up in the neighborhood, and then I just remember one specific incident. Not to get into it, like in detail, but my dad said, I was like, I want to move out. You know what I'm saying? I just it's just too much tension here, and to a certain degree, it wasn't even safe sometimes at playing basketball and stuff like that. So he was like, well, listen, if you stay faithful to this, you're gonna be able to eventually afford to get out of it. There's no other way. So once he said that to me, I just said to myself, that's the only way to get out of my living situation, and just to be blunt about it, and my dad, he would do things to train me and make me more mentally prepared to deal with life's obstacles and keeping your cool, because when you're growing up in situations, especially where we grew up, things go left real quick, whether you're a basketball player, where you're not, and sometimes it's out of your control. But like I said, the love that I have for people, let's just say what it is. A lot of some people that wasn't, on those to say wasn't as loving, were really good basketball players too, and I just felt as though once I got that opportunity, I just ran with it. I just ran with it, and I even tell my wife, I said, listen, I feel as though I can go back to the Lower East Side and still get the same love that I left. When I left, you know what I'm saying? That's just how I try to carry myself. But that gave me that foundation. Basketball will be your key out of this living situation. So
And that's the testament of your business. Purpose driven
yeah,
training, culture run. Basketball is a
yeah.
part of your everyday life. You
Every
you
day,
run a
7 days a week.
successful business. Wow, wow, wow. I just needed to hear that testimony right there. Let's go. Drop some
Yeah.
chips and a cheer. Clap it up.
James, I gotta ask you, brother. You
Yes.
Your talent and skills have put you on a level in which you have been sorted out by many people to train them in different levels. Um, Yet I see you always giving back to the young, always giving back to the youth, always giving back to those in which don't have mental. And let's be honest, man. Where we come from, there's a if even a half a handful of those who try to mentor you correctly. You know what I'm saying? And here it
Mhm.
is, you moved out the Lower East Side, but still give back, even when you were around, still give back. But you moved out and started focusing on the young, the youth, those who needed mentors and mentorship. I have to ask you, brother, why the focus on the young and the youth?
Um, because to a certain degree, I feel like we're misled. A lot of us are, living. We didn't have internet back then. You know what I'm saying? So now everybody could put up some crazy stuff on the internet, and the kids actually really think that that's actually reality when it's really not. For whatever they're viewing at the time, but I just didn't want to forget. My mom and dad raised me. Don't forget where you come from, because you'll never know where you're going. And I've been blessed enough that we give out 25 to 50 scholarships a year for kids. I know I could not afford my training at 25 years ago. I know that for a fact. I couldn't afford it. So am I gonna sit here and go, okay, okay, you may be out the hood or whatever the case may be? Are you gonna forget? No, that was you at 25 years ago. And begging for certain things. I didn't have a lot of, with the exception of my parents. I mean, in terms of like, there wasn't a lot of positive role models like that, to look up to. Certain people, but at the end of the day, they moved out, and then a lot of them never really came back. You know what I'm saying? So, and that really, really stuck to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, man.
Yeah, that true testament, man. Because we had many, who not many, but a few who did, touch certain levels, and it was just kind of like never to be seen again. You know what I mean? In multiple levels, whether it be ball, whether it be music, whether it be whatever it is. But the fact that you hold true to those morals and that virtue that you was talking of. You know what I'm saying? Where not only now are you, that's why I had to ask you to come on, brother, because it was just kind of like, yo, anybody could just help others to get rich off of something, but you are, as the name of your company is, purpose driven. There is a purpose behind it. And then on top of that, you're not only training basketball skill levels on a physical level, you're also doing it on a more spiritual and mental, where it's teaching how to become. So ball never works out for you, dope, but you still got these things intact that can help you with life in general. And I see that even with the work that you do, with the videos that you put on, like you're teaching these young how to understand that it's bigger than ball. Understand that left
Yeah.
hand dribble with a little.
It,
Yeah, speak on it. Go ahead, James. Speak on it,
how
brother.
basically, like, actually, I was talking about it today in the championship game. In the championship game today, we was giving out trophies and everything like that, and it was like, yeah, yeah, they got their trophies, they got their accolades and stuff like that, and then they worked hard, and they deserved all the accolades they get. But how do you translate this in the game of life? Like you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you translate that? Because at the end of the day, these kids are gonna work for corporations. These kids are gonna be fathers. These kids are gonna be, these kids are gonna be husbands. There's certain ways, but you're always in a team setting, and you're trying to transfer, teach them these drills and stuff like that, and these leagues that I'm creating, and how are they going to become better men, protectors, providers with integrity and stuff like that. Because it's easy. I mean, sometimes the hard things in life, the easy things in life are not the things you're supposed to be really doing. The hard things in life are the things you're really supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I just try to put out good energy like that. And if it comes back in good energy, great. But I try to stay away from bad energy. So just try to make a positive impact. And I think that's more valuable when you make an impact in a kid's life, as opposed to you just showed him a certain skill, because we all know basketball is a small department in the game of life.
Do you have an example? You don't have to name a name, but if you can, I mean, of an example of someone that you work with that did basketball the whole time, and but then took their skill, took what they learned, and did something else.
Yeah, there's plenty of people that
Yeah.
took that skill. Uh, one of I'll use an example. One of my dear friends, Jerron Smith, he took basketball, and he used it to further his education, and
Mm,
he's one of the most hardworking people I know, and basically he pivoted off basketball, and he tells storytelling through the game of
cool.
basketball, and on the big screen, movie
Mm,
theaters, stuff like that. And he was, as a young black man, he made Forbes 30 under, top 30 under 30. A lot of graduated from Howard University,
mm.
Columbia
That's
University with his
that's
masters, and
different. That's that's
he's a
different.
guy that inspires me, to continuously, master your craft, really, really master your craft, and not to bring up, the dead, but Kobe Bryant was the first person I ever heard say, master your craft.
Mhm.
What you do. This is how you're
Rest
gonna
in
make the
peace.
next level. What you do. And I already had the work ethic, but to really master it and break it down to its most simple form, and master every single steps. Because if you look at it, we all ran through math at whatever math we ran through, but you always start with addition. You don't get to subtraction unless you master addition, and you don't get to multiplication unless you master addition and subtraction, so on and so forth. So it's no different in the game of basketball, and I think the reason why I've experienced the success so far is that I don't let kids graduate unless they're ready.
Mm.
Graduate to the next level. You have to know the whole addition, then you have to know the whole subtraction, so on and so forth. So you're prepared to building you a good foundation on the court, because when you're on that basketball court, it gets chaotic and stuff like that. And in life, it gets chaotic, and you can't make emotional decisions. You must absorb what's going on and move accordingly. Because if you move differently, it could be some catastrophic things happening. Everything has to be strategic and move with love.
Gems on top of gems. The, it's like to be able to connect, life and basketball through an analogy, through, that's what I feel is the purpose of, sport or athletics, period.
I'm sorry, I lost you. I'm sorry, I lost you. My apologies. Can you?
Oh, okay. No, I was saying,
I'm sorry. Can
bring.
you repeat that whole thing? My battery was dying. Put my other battery in. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no problem, no problem. So, I was saying
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? Mic check, mic check.
1 2 1 2.
I hear you now.
Okay,
Okay.
bet.
I hear you.
I was saying the analogy to bring, life to literally connect life and basketball, same way that my coaches and I would connect football with life. I grew up playing football, and that is what I feel like is the purpose of athletics. In all areas, you can take the it's the mentality, and then the struggle, pressure, everything that you go through in your athletic, path, and when you apply the connections that you would go through in life, it's when you are able to show that to them at such a young age, it really opens up their mind to have a more open consciousness, about more balanced consciousness, to when they step out into the real world. Like you said, they can absorb the situation, you know what I mean, and know what next step to take. Maybe they might need to pivot.
Yeah, pivot is very important. I
You know
pivot
what I'm
every day.
saying?
Yeah, that's the foundation of your triple threat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what, man? I'm gonna connect all that right through a story. And it's all gonna connect. So we talking about connectivity. Me and Mr. Hunt were in junior high school at a time in which we had celebrities come to the Lower East Side, and it happened often. You know what I'm saying? It did happen often, but quietly. This one particular time wasn't as quiet. So, there was a video being shot. It was Fushnikins, which was at the time hip hop's, you know what I
I
mean?
just had that conversation.
I just had this conversation yesterday too. It was Fushnikins and Shaq Diesel. So just to kind of give you so it connects in so many ways. The base of the connection is the place in which we grew up from. Here it is. Shaq and Fushnikins is out there under a spot that everybody kind of went to. Actually, it was a spot that everybody used to go to fight. You know what I'm saying? To kind of shoot your square, shoot your five. And so they down there, man, daylight. A lot of people out there, man. The whole hood was out there. And while they're shooting this video, Shaq is a good 7'2", 7'3".
7'2". Yeah.
Jesus. 290, 250.
Yeah.
And we had this one dude who had just came out of, incarceration, man. Scarface Mike. And Mike was no more than probably 5'6", 5'7" at most. This dude is out there while they shooting the video telling Shaq, yo, big man, what up? I want to box you. Not, I want an autograph. Not, I want to be in a video. Yo, big man, what it do? I want to box you. Come out here so we can box. And this is the mentality of our home ground, our base of where we come from, the Lower East Side, where it was just kind of like, and yeah, you get your places where people are shooting videos, and you got, those is out there with their hammers out there, they got their guns ready to go, and they trying to intimidate. Here's this one dude by himself, wasn't with nobody, was like, yo, big man, yo, Shaq, I want to slap you in your face, come out here. And then, so we was in that video, it was called Lash Move.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The whole hood was out there.
Under the bridge.
Under the Brooklyn Bridge.
A skateboard spot.
Now, that's so everybody who, when y'all go down there and you see your skateboard park, shout out to y'all for having a skateboard park, but understand the history before that was where everybody went over there to shoot the fair one and have and rumble or whatever it was. It was actually part of the sand park where we used to, but years later, here it is. And this is me just based off of seeing my brother's IG page and just following my brother because that's my brother off of love. I know that and this is not something that he may not want to talk about lively, but I know that he's been training Shaq's children.
Mm.
When you
Fast
talking about,
forward.
yeah, when you talk about the connectivity, the syncrasy and all the, leveling up, where my brother not only is focused on training others, but here it is, you got the opportunity to work with Shaq's children. Seeing some videos with y'all shooting around too. You know what I mean? Shaq retired and now got a 3-point shot from like 3 blocks away. You know what I mean? And just to see that, man, whenever I see videos like that, I celebrate that just to see your growth. You know what I mean? So, but
No, I
also,
appreciate that. It's funny. It's funny.
yeah,
I
go
was gonna
ahead, go
say
ahead.
I didn't mean cut you short. It's funny
Nah, nah.
it's funny you brought that up. A couple years ago, we was at his, me and him we had this relationship because obviously the basketball relationship and stuff like that. I told him, he was, oh, I'm like, you can't guard me, stuff like that. He's just, he's from Jersey, we always have our little, talking trash and stuff like that. And he was like, 28,000 points. That's his answer back to me, 28,000 points. So, when you have scored that many points and you get to the league, first and foremost, you obviously, you hold a certain platform. But I remember that day, and actually that day changed my life because I told him, I said, listen, man, I never liked you growing up. I never liked Shaquille because of that day. Because I was one of those kids in the line. I'm sure you remember, George. There was a big line, a bunch of kids that wanted to get an autograph and stuff like that. And I was one of the kids. And my mom, had me waiting for, to get the autograph and stuff like that. And he came out and he didn't sign the autographs. He's like, nah, I mean, whatever the security said, he's not going to be signing autographs. And so we left. But that kind of hurt my feelings. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't understand. And that's what made me not really like him. And on top of that, he was just coming to New York and just bullying guys like Chris Dudley and treating them like little boys and stuff like that. But then I remember what my mother said. She said, James, you keep working hard, you'll be able to, be on that type of platform, and I shared that story with him. He was like, oh, my bad, but that day it definitely changed me. But knowing him, sometimes you just want your privacy. And as a young kid, you don't understand, oh, he's a celebrity, he's supposed to sign every autograph. No, he's at the end of the day, he's a human being. He's a father, and he's a hardworking man, a business owner, and obviously very successful business owner. And he's an awesome person. He's one of the most awesome people. But at the end of the day, sometimes you do want time for yourself. And at that time, I didn't understand it. But being around him, on many, many occasions, I understand that, privacy is very important, that, you need time for yourself to keep your sanity too. You know what I'm saying? Because, the guy of that level and that platform is being pulled in so many different directions. So shout out to him. Great father, great person. The whole O'Neal family, stand up, classy family. And is very loving and caring. So it's definitely been a pleasure to, call them my family.
It's a
That's dope,
pleasure,
man.
but that's a funny ass story though.
Yeah, it's a funny story. I know. It's a funny story. Yeah, I remember.
I remember.
Man, shoot, I
And
remember, man.
that for the most part, that's why I brought that up, man, based off of what segued my thought into that was just that, the pivot. You know what I'm saying? The pivot to be able to see something like that and know, like, nah, what's in front of me, what's around me is not gonna lock me in to that box. You know what I'm saying? Here it is, we in the Lower East Side. There's many ways that we could have all went left or went right, and then all of a sudden ended up in the same spots. You know what I mean? It happens so often. But here it is, to know that story is kind of like the backbone to now all of a sudden you're working with the same person that was in our hood, and to be able to share that story, like, yo, nah, I remember this one time, this, that, and the third, you know what I mean? And then be able to kick it and still say, but yo, let's get your children right. You know what I mean? Let's get them trained correctly. You know what I'm saying? And that 360 is so crazy. You know what I'm saying? And just having that opportunity, that luxury. It's only, truth be told, man, I know there's a lot of factors that play a part of it, but the main factor is the cadence to you, who you are as a person, to be able to even be, you know what I mean, adopted into a family like that and just help, like, yo, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, and seeing that relationship kind of flourish is kind of dope, despite that situation where he wasn't giving out the autographs. You know what I mean? So again, levels. There's so many levels, and you never know later on in life, man. It's so small. You're going to run into people later on, man. So always keep that in mind. And I'm talking to the audience. Always keep that in mind. If somebody may have came off wrong on one day or something situation didn't end up the way you wanted to. Trust, man, that the circle of life is so real. You always
Karma
gonna
is
say
real.
karma is crazy. Karma is crazy. You know what I mean? So um James, let me ask you a question, man. It might be an obvious question, but
Yes.
what do you feel like you got out of ball? What do you feel like what
Mm.
gifts did you get out of your commitment and your passion to basketball?
Everything. Everything. A love of understanding. Working in a team environment. It opened doors so I can further my education. Um, Relationships. Understanding different cultures. You know, one thing from this journey that so far, you gotta unlearn growing up in the Lower East Side, and we grew up in survival. Our mindset was we gotta see tomorrow. As a young kid, like I remember, and shout out to my cousin Anthony Wright, Reverend Ant, for shout out to him. I remember, as we got older and we started getting upper in the teenage years, we didn't. He would say, when school let out in June, let's make sure we go see September. And that's not as a 42-year-old young man, that's not a good mindset. But that was my mindset. I just thought that as a young kid, unfortunately, I didn't think that I would live to see past 18. I thought I was going to get caught up in something, and not doing nothing. I wasn't that type of person, but I was in the basketball court. You know what I'm saying? And things happen. A lot of things happen on the basketball court or in and around that court. You know what I'm saying? So, and I don't. It just taught me. It gave me a level of understanding of peace and open up so many doors and opportunities and learning different cultures and stuff like that. It's brought me literally around the whole world. I basketball is, yeah, literally around the whole world. I've been around the whole world, in many different places, whether it's training, coaching, or whatever the case may be. And I'm forever grateful for it. So basketball has taught me everything. It has given an imprint on my personal life and in my professional life.
That's an amazing answer right there. Wow.
Hell yeah. And you know what's
So
crazy to kind of add on to James's I don't want to say narrative, man, but just to build on what he's saying, man. That 18, like once you reached 18 was a tremendous feat just based off of the fact that I remember a principal telling me like, I'm surprised you reached 18. You know what I'm saying? When I was 18 and telling me like, well, you're lucky to reach 18. By 21, you'll be locked up or dead anyway. And that was a principal. And I think I might have told the story or not, but then, years later, not years later, very much, I think I was 19, 20 when I dropped my first, had my first book published, and the same principal was talking about, hey, why don't you come in and speak to our youth and speak? I was like, yo, I have no problem speaking to them. I just can't do it under your guise. I can't do it while you a principal. You know what I'm saying? She's like, why? What happened? And it was like, I don't know if you noticed or not, but you had told me I wasn't going to live past 21. So here it is. I'm 20 with a book, and I only say that to say the mentality of that we had of us reaching or certain ages as kind of like milestones was not only based off of our own individual, but also helped created by those around us that negatively felt the same way. So they just lived by, we lived by stigmas, and it was hard to kind of break those stigmas. If you weren't a strong individual, you more than likely fell into those boxes and those caskets in which they put you in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to you, James, man, for never letting that, you know what I mean, brother? And I love the fact that you are who you are despite of where we came from, and you ain't never changed the lick. You know what I mean? Like it ain't even like,
mhm.
yo, I had to become a different person, and now, yo, nah, stiff arm, whoever's trying to talk to me from the hood, you always been the same person. You know what I mean? So shout out to you, brother. I commend you for that.
Yeah. And I appreciate it. Same to you, man. One thing that drove me, I saw a lot of talented friends growing up that either their life was cut short for whatever reason, or they were locked up for whatever reason. Um, but I knew them personally and had love for them, and they were very good people. They was just in survival mode, and things didn't go out in their favor. And one thing I always, strive for was my mom. My mother, she was like, James, I don't want to ever have to bury you or any of my kids. And there were days that things where I want to go outside and do all that. And she immediately was like, no, I'm not going to be burying any of my kids. And I played the soft role or whatever the case may be. And it was just ugly. And then my dad he was more logistical and a calm response. And he was just like, always come in the room, and he would just teach me basketball. He's like, James, this is the key. Like, I'm about to give you the answers to the test. This is gonna be your way out. And unfortunately, they're no longer here no more. But that's why I got tattoos on my back of them, because they gave me that foundation to strive and continuously strive towards my potential. I mean, I don't think I'm there yet, but I think I'm on the way there. So. And shout out to them. I was blessed enough to have two very loving parents and have good people around me, regardless of what environment I was in. And even to this day, I have, I can honestly say I have good people around me. I don't care if they're in the public eye or not. They're just good-hearted people. You know what I'm saying? So people I can
Brother, I
count
want
on and
to,
call on at any time. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, man. And I'm going to tell you straight off the back, brother. Forgive me if I'm stepping out of bounds in any way, shape, or form, but I assure you, your mother and your father and your grandfather, B,
Yeah,
I assure you, they are proud of you. I assure you, they are
yeah,
by far, they know that they left behind, you and your brother are beyond so super dope from a lot of a lot of those that we were surrounded by and around. Like, shout out to Ant too, man. Shout out to my brother Ant, right?
yeah.
You know, and Devon, you know what I'm saying? And the list
Devon,
goes
yeah,
on,
another
man.
one of the dear friends of mine. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you know what I mean? So yeah, I just want to let you know, for whatever, whether they speaking through me or whether,
mm,
they proud of you, brother. And I already know that. You know what I mean? I see it in your children, I see it in your wife, I see it in your companionship and your partnership and what you've created. You know what I'm saying? I know by all means, man, every time you out there working with a young person, or every time you're working with whoever you're working with, I know that you're giving 1,000% of your heart and your compassion. And I know that your parents and your grandfather definitely happy about that, brother. So, just keep it up, man. Keep it up. You know what I'm
nah,
saying? And
I really appreciate the kind words. One thing I learned is the the greatest gift you can give somebody is to inspire them. And I was inspired by many different things, but the love of basketball is what inspired me the most. And my mom didn't care about basketball. She just wanted me to be happy and survive. My dad, that he was just the basketball guy. Like I look back at, if my dad could have put, into movement of all the education that he had, he would have had multiple, like, Fortune 500 companies. That's how intelligent of a man he was. And I would just, me and my brother Mason, we would just absorb that information every single day in the back of the room, and I just created a business out of it. And it has put me on a certain platform, but I'm still the same person. I'm not no different. The scenery's a little different, but at the end of the day, it's I'm still that young man from the Lower East Side that show loves wherever I go. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I strive to be. I don't want to change up and think that something that I'm not.
Marcus in the chat said it's raining flowers. Listen, it has to rain flowers right now. This brother testimony, this life story right here is it's inspiring in itself. You feel me? Like, I'm literally, it's an honor and pleasure to meet you. I'm inspired, my own with my own self, just knowing, like, I'm connecting with everything you're saying. The energy is everything. And you demonstrated how you all knew that you consciously had to carry the correct energy, and when since a young child you already said that you knew about your energy, you was conscious about energy, and throughout this time, look at how you've carried that same energy, and it attracts what It attracts your success. It attracts what you said is around you, that everything that is for you. This is so, man, you're a great example of that, man. It's an honor to meet you. I don't even have nothing
No, I
else. I'm
appreciate it.
I'm literally
Same here. Yeah, same here.
Sir.
I say like this. I'll tell this one. I'll tell this one little brief story. Um, one late night we was driving, and you know, Shaquille was like, obviously because it's a kid, so you get close to people because you work, you're working for him, you're dealing with his kids, so you're gonna have a good relationship. Every single one, obviously, every kid that we help develop, you're gonna be close to the parents. And one night he said, James, you're really good at what you do, but I could hire anybody. So one of the main reasons why I rocks with you, he said, because you got a good heart. You know what I'm saying? You don't. I don't try to move maliciously or deceitfully or what have you. And I think that goes a long way because that was the lessons that I learned that in the Lower East Side. I mean, George, certain people that
Oh, it goes a long way. Yes, it does. When you dropping gems like that to really type into this is psychology right here. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? This is therapy for some people right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like this is actually knowing, tapping into people that say, "Yo, I know I'm like this," and sometimes I be flaky, but you know what? Let me stand on my square, stand on my purpose, stay driven. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's this guy is doing it. He's
Mm-hmm.
doing it. He did it. You know what I mean? And continuing to do it. And he's growing throughout the whole process, literally throughout this whole entire podcast. That's what was displayed, man. That, oh man, what?
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure his battery probably died out. He's going to come on.
Yeah, yeah.
And I also want to say, for the most part, man, this is one of the most um, humblest um, people I've ever met. You know what I'm saying? So for the most part, and this is my brother, just based off of the fact, man, I keep my circles very small, just based off of who people try to pretend to be. I ain't never had that issue with him or his brother. Like they are who they are, and it's just kind of like, yo, like it, love it, hate me. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever your reasons are, I am going to be who I am. I'm going to be victorious. I'm going to be successful. And he definitely on the court, man. He will definitely get under your
yeah,
nerves. You know
I'm
what I'm
sorry.
saying? Like there you go, there you go. I
Yeah,
was
I am
talking to
so
people.
sorry. Like it
Like,
just
come
went
on,
it just
brother.
went blank. My
Don't worry
sincere
about it, man.
apologies, guys.
Come on, man.
Um,
Don't even worry about it. You back. I was just telling people how you a man of your word, man. You and ain't never really always been humble. Never been one to really concern yourself with the lives or the aspects or opinions of others. You always just moved in a way that was so um amazing to see from the outside in, just based off of the fact that there was no need to act. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
There was no script to read. You know what I mean? So, but go ahead, brother, get back to what you were
Yeah,
saying. Good
what I
shit.
was saying was Shaquille when he said that stuck to me because at the end of the day, I know George, you got you're we're parents. When you never know what true love is until you have your own kids. In
Yes,
my
sir.
opinion, when my child was born, when my firstborn was born, I never cried until my daughter was born of tears of joy. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like that love. You just got to move accordingly. And unfortunately, fortunately, that's their most prized possession. My children. So I'm dealing with
Yes.
kids and their most prized possessions.
Yes.
And people like people laugh about it. They go, sometimes they go, that person called you, whoever it may be, not just kill. I work with a lot of people. They're like, wow, that person called you, or you just called that person like that. I said, yeah, because I deal with their kids, their
Mhm.
most prized possessions. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like their kids, this is their legacy. And I take pride in that. And it's like I'm just a small piece of the puzzle, but a piece of the community to help raise kids. You know what I'm saying? And then you build that, and it's been a beautiful thing. And from love shown to me and me showing love. And this is how I try to navigate, because unfortunately, the way I saw growing up in Lower East Side, if you didn't move a certain way and you moved deceitfully, it could have been dangerous. You know, you always had to move out of love. So people like, I'm gonna give him a pass. I'm in another project. I'm gonna give him a pass because he's a basketball player. He's a good dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I can come to Rutgers even though it's across the street. You know what I'm saying? I can come to Rutgers, and still get a pass from you guys. You know what I'm saying? Or Smith projects or whatever projects that I was visiting at that time, and just to play basketball. And thank God, I was never really harmed or nothing like that.
Bless. I like how you
But
said that it was the it goes a long way,
Yeah.
being good hearted goes a long way. And it's definitely a once again you're a testimony to that, man. I was telling them, and I was, when you dropped off, I was saying how that in itself is just inspirational.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
definitely, man. So you was working with a young man. I was seeing his growth from high school age.
Yeah.
Um, Young man is currently in seen him a couple of times, man, on the TV screen and killing overseas. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, damn, that's that work. That's that work. So if you can, I don't know, not that I forgot how to pronounce his last name. So if you can speak on the young man and just speak about the work that you've done with him.
Um. Yeah. Well, I met a kid named Max Heidegger. When he was 6 years old, and long story short, the general manager for the Lakers at the time, Mitch Kupchak, was, I guess, friends with the mom and stuff like that, and we went to a his basketball camp. Smush went to his basketball camp to sign some autographs, and not to get into all the details and stuff like that, but I started working with him, a little bit, but obviously my mindset was Smush. Make sure Smush is playing well on the court. It was, that was my priority. But I wouldn't have to be with Smush all day, all day. And there was time out here that I could do certain things. So I started working with him, and I saw a kid that, one, parents were very, very hardworking, and he had that with him. And he wanted to play basketball all day, so I said, let's do it, but we're gonna do it this way. If you really want to play at the next level, and he's young, he's a kid, 6, 7, 8 years old, and but I just started flooding him with the information. So me getting all this information over here, I just started transferring the information to him, and I would be with him hours a day, and just developing him. I knew he worked hard, but there was a certain way you had to develop him. And I was one of my biggest mentors, my godfather, Rodney Parker. He's no longer here. Shout out to Rodney Parker, who helped a lot with Smush's success. We call him the godfather. He was mentoring me at the time, and obviously before his death. And he was just like, "This is the way you develop." And he says, "Watch every single thing Smush does." Like, people don't realize, like, and shout out to Smush. It's not because he's my family or nothing like that. You don't go from West 4th Street to going playing in the NBA. Like, Smush only played 1 year high school, 1 year college, doesn't get drafted, starts for the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's not heard of. And then goes back overseas. And then I never forget it, not to change the subject, but this is just how much I felt like I was at basketball Harvard in Princeton. I was getting such knowledge. And at the time, Rodney was saying, "You watch every single thing Smush does." And I never forget it. Smush, long story short, he got to summer league, and we were sitting down, and Smush is not, he's going, regular layups and stuff like that. And I was always very animated, like, I didn't think Smush would make the team, but I knew Smush was good enough to play in the NBA. So I jumped out. I never forget it. I jumped out of it was in the Pyramid in Long Beach. I jumped out of the bleachers and I yelled. I'm not gonna say exactly what he said. I'm not gonna say exactly what I said because there's a lot of fun in it. But I was just like, "You better let them know." You know what I'm saying? Like, Brooklyn is too far home. Home is too far. And Smush picked up his play immediately. He got in the game and he started really, really making positive contributions to the team and everything like that. But when I said that, everybody looked, you got this light skinned dude standing in the bleachers, and who's this dude? And I never forget it. I turned, and it was Jerry Buss, the late Jerry Buss. Like who the fuck is this dude? And and I was sitting with one of the scouts, and then they said, "Oh, Smush is lucky he's even on this summer league team. He's not even good enough to be on this summer league team." I said, "Okay, we'll find out. We will find out." And then 4 or 5 games later, Smush, some guy, the lady comes up to us from the Lakers organization and tells us, "A Mitch Kupchak wants to speak to you." And me and Smush looks at each other like, "Who's Mitch? Mitch Kupchak?" We didn't know who Mitch Kupchak was, but we drove to the facility, and I was like, "Oh, this is the guy. This is the guy. That makes decisions." So he just told Smush, "Keep playing what you're gonna play. We're gonna bring you in the back camp, and we're gonna give you a shot." And he became starting point guard in 2 weeks. So I started getting that information upon meeting this kid, and I literally just started flooding this kid with information, and he started to really get better. He already had the hard work, the desire and everything like that. But one thing that was very pivotal in his development, when he was about 8 years old, his mom asked me, he's like, "Oh, James, what should we, if we want to get him better, what should we do?" And I'm a New Yorker. I don't know nothing about California. I still know very little about California. I love California. I love California so much. It's my home now. But I was like, let's just go back to the, Lower East Side in Brooklyn. So every summer we went back to, Brooklyn and Lower East Side, and we were playing these tournaments from Gauchos, Riverside.
You said let me take them back to the bricks.
To the bricks, like, and I never forget it. He got there and he was just like, he was definitely I wish I recorded it. He definitely was like, oh, I mean, I recorded some basketball stuff, but he was definitely like, this is a different environment, and let's just say he's the only white boy, and my brothers, and I never forget it. We was playing at 134, and it was that environment where how it is in 134. It's you better you get on the court. They're gonna try to exploit you. They don't care how young you are. That it's a very physical game, and he just started to just get it and be more tougher and tougher. And then every time we go back to California, he just had a stronger, more aggressive mindset. I mean, he averaged 32 points in high school. And he averaged 19 in college, and now he's playing overseas. And then God willing, in my opinion, he's definitely an NBA player. And I know that when he gets a shot, he's definitely going to capitalize on the opportunity. He's one of the most skilled basketball players I've seen at many levels, especially offensively. And you think that he's not, he doesn't fit the eye test or whatever. But when that ball goes up, man, that kid Max Heidegger, he's special. He's just special. So. Shout out to him, and but that was the transition. It was every single year. What are we doing every month? And that was the thing about the Lakers organization. They taught me how to break it down in the most simple form. Because like I said, I would ask questions, and there's a guy named Tex Winter. I don't know if you know him. A guy named Tex Winter. He was one of the assistant coaches, but he was like the guy who created the triangle offense and stuff like that. And I would ask questions like, he would say, "James, Smush should be doing this," or whatever the case may be, and how he would show me how things should be broken down, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write that down. And of course, Kobe had everything mastered already. So from a skill standpoint, and he's like, "You see how Kobe does this? Let's start going over this, little things like that really, really helped me get a better understanding of how to develop." So that's one thing that really inspired me, because if I had that, I was like, if I could break things down and just do addition and master addition and go subtraction, so on and so forth. I was everywhere. I just worked hard. I just wanted to just work, because I didn't know how to develop. You get what I'm saying? I just knew I needed to do certain things. You know what I'm saying? So that was his transition with him. So kid Max Heidegger, shout out to him, and he's gonna do very well in basketball. He's already doing very well.
Gotta drop a bomb on that.
Man.
Gotta drop a bomb on that story.
And what's crazy, man? The connection between So Smush Parker, if y'all didn't understand, whoever's listening didn't understand, he's talking about Smush Parker, who ended up playing starting point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers while playing alongside Kobe Bryant. And the one thing that the connection I see between him and the young man Max is that heart. You know what I mean? Smush Parker, because of his story, many people are like, yo, chill. And, listen, man, there's a lot of street ballers, man. Rafe also is probably one of the few that made it where he killed on the court, on the streets. And but there's a lot of others who never got to that level or had the opportunity to even try out for that level because of various reasons. So here it is. Smush is one of them dudes who straight up, yeah, his background, he was a baller, but it wasn't like from Pampers and now we mold you and then you end up. Nah, he had that heart. You know what I mean? And with the young man Max, this is kind of like the same thing when I seen videos of him when you put it up. I just seen heart. I just seen a kid who just nah. I don't care who's down there. 7'18", 6'3", 5'1". You gonna get to work. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna drive in, and if I get whatever it's gonna be, I'm gonna do the best that I can to put this ball in the bucket and score, and humbly get back on that D and do what I got to do on that side too. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's what Smush was, man. Smush has always been that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so to see that those two come kind of from your circle, from your lineage of how you dealt with so many men. It's just again, man, it's a salute to you. It's a salute to those that you keep around you. And I knew as soon as I seen the young man Max, I was like, yeah, nah, James is gonna get him where he needs to be. Just based off of the fact that I know you. Just based off of the fact that I know when you was with Smush, you was out there training with the Lakers as well and doing like, come on, man, that's kid from Lower East Side. You know what I mean? Like you was only supposed to see Delancey Street, man.
You know what's funny? There's one thing about in just learning this process. At the end of the day, we could teach a skill. The hardest thing and the most important thing to teach is a mindset.
Yes.
It's a mindset. Like I got video. Like it's on my Instagram actually. I got video of Max when he was like 9 years old, and I never forget. I went to pick him up. I told Smush, Smush, we're gonna work out with Max, stuff like that. And Mac, Smush, thank God she showed up, and they started playing 1-on-1. But on the way there, Max, we're driving it. Max is like, yeah, I'm gonna give him buckets. And this and I'm gonna give it I'm talking. I'm like, yo, I'm back in my mom at home. This is starting point off the Lakers. You're not gonna get no buckets, but okay, and he lost, but his heart that day, that workout is in 25 minutes when I was working for Magic Johnson at the time. I saw, I was like, this kid has some serious potential, and yeah, he lost the 1-on-1, and Smith ain't gonna let him beat him. He might just let him score here and there, but he ain't gonna let him beat him. But the fact that when we left that gym and we got back in the car and we driving back, Max was really upset. Like next year. Like next year. I'm like, no, bro. Listen to me. You good? Like it's gonna be a process, but that heart and the fact that he thought that he was supposed to win. And he's one of the most confident players, him and Smush, obviously, most confident players I've ever been around. And he just knows his talents, and he doesn't back down. When you don't back down and you show that you have heart, it goes a long way, on top of obviously talent and health and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Facts, man. Once again, drop a bomb.
Yeah, my brother, James Worth the mother, B. I love you, B. I thank you for being you.
Love, every day,
you know
man.
What I mean?
So love this way, man. You know what I'm saying?
It's amazing to see your growth, man. It's amazing to see not only your growth in the sense of we become older by time and age, and I'm not talking about that though. I'm also more so talking about mentality, spirituality. You are who you are. You just leveled up on a whole different level where now you the real always understand, man, when you have an abundance, you decide to transfer that energy and give it to those that don't, so that they in turn can then turn it to others. You know what I'm saying? So, and that, that's the true values of life, man. You know what I mean? As long as we live in these physical shells that we call, bodies, when we are no longer here, it's about what we did for the legacy that we leave behind, man. And you doing it. You know what I'm saying? So, shout out to you, brother, man. I definitely, I'm proud of you, man. And I see your baby girl now. I seen her putting up some shots. She looked like she give it another 2 weeks. She's gonna start giving people straight business. You know what I mean?
You know what's funny? I talked about this with my family and stuff like that. Basketball is my life. And basketball has done, like I said earlier in the podcast, that it's done everything for me. I it's not her life. I just want to support her, and whatever she wants to do. I really didn't have. I just had two choices. You either get in trouble on the Lower East Side, or you play basketball. And I saw the people that were getting in trouble. Unfortunately, they were losing their lives, and they were getting incarcerated for many, many years. And basketball was the only other way that was presented to me. So I try to remind myself that one, my kids are not growing up the way I grew up, and I want to continuously use basketball to open up other opportunities for them so they could do what they want to do. I just so happened to fall in love with it, and that was my only option. So you got to fall in love with something. If there's only one thing to fall in love with, that's the only thing I'm gonna do. But yeah, I want to be the example for for my kids to what hard work looks like, and then and being more educated about different things in life, your legacy, creating generational wealth for your kids and stuff like that. Those are things that wasn't presented to me when I was a kid, and I'm around people that are educating me about trust funds and what portfolios and stuff like that, and how those things should look, and even things that you didn't really learn in college. We didn't learn that stuff, and I got quite a few degrees actually, and those are things that really wasn't really emphasized, and I'm learning what that looks like, but at the same time keeping my kids hungry and know that daddy didn't grow up like this, and daddy works hard every single day. So and that's the thing. I want to be an example, not just for my kids but for other kids as well.
Yes, dropping more. Now that's fatherhood, Gems. See,
Hey.
you thought you was just gonna get coaching, now fatherhood gems is
Right.
being dropped, But and I appreciate that too, because that is to not pressure them or stare them or force them, tell them that you have to do this because this is the sport that I want you to do. That is key, that give them the option. And I think everything that you just said was key, because I seen the opposite of that. You know what I mean? I seen the opposite of that, where it felt like you're being forced to play the
Yeah.
sport, you know what I mean? And then I'm not really in love with it, or they
Yep.
not really in love with it, and it's just going through the motions with it. I've seen the other side of it, and I think because fathers like us that seen the other side actually are taking a different approach, and I actually see the benefit in that with my children.
Yeah, and then that's important. Even though my daughter likes basketball, but I know in a couple of years, basketball becomes a job in high school. Like it's serious, and you got to prepare them for that. But at the same time, I don't want to ruin my relationship with her, because sometimes I'm very, I kind of get my Lower East Side Brooklyn mode, and no, she's a little girl. I got a little boy, and I got another little girl. I gotta salvage that relationship and don't hurt that relationship. So I just hire one of my employees to train them, and so that they can reiterate what I'm telling them. And then when they go, this didn't go well in practice, stuff like that. So, well, they did this because you're not learning this. So we have to, and I can stay in the father lane, and just because, I think, obviously that my parent role in relationship with my daughter is very pivotal, into her development. And I just want her to transfer these lessons and change it in the game of life, because, she's a beautiful young girl. I want her, using basketball to get her in shape, have her learn teen common sense and stuff like that. And, God forbid she have to defend herself one day or stuff like that. She'll be strong enough to be able to defend herself, because I'm not going to be with her forever. You know what I'm saying? So it's my job to prepare her as life's, obstacles and the beautiful things in life as well.
Now you're doing a great job, brother. And
So.
your beautiful family, brother. And I know that everything connects the way it's supposed to, and everything is aligned the way it's supposed to be when it all when it's all said and done. And your baby girl, regardless of whatever it is that she chooses to do in life, I know she's going to be great on it, and she's going to be great in it because of the fact of what you're teaching her now. You and your wife are both teaching her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and Mason too, man. Uncle Mason.
Yeah, Uncle
you know
Mason.
what I'm saying?
Uncle Mason. He's always love.
Freaking guy, that guy.
Mason,
yeah,
so.
man. But yeah, brother. Anything that you want to anything you want to speak about, just to finalize? Any like I know your culture
Yeah.
run, man. You doing it. Anything you want to
Any
put,
last
you know,
words?
yeah, yeah.
I just want to help our youth be guided. I chose this route, career wise. People go, oh, James, why don't you go back and talk to some of your connections at the NBA level and be a trainer at the NBA level. I look at it like this. There's roughly 450 basketball players in the NBA. Let's say you get a couple of them. Yeah, that's great. It may look good on social media or whatever the case may be. But when you open it up to young kids, you have a mass of kids. And you can make you're gonna make, let's say you get 5 NBA players. You'll make an impact in those 5 players' lives and stuff like that. But that's 5 people. They're eventually gonna get old, they're gonna retire, stuff like that, and then you gotta be on to the next. I was blessed enough, and I really think it's a blessing that I'm able to do it at the youth level to help inspire, because it's a mass of kids that you could touch, and then that's the most important thing. So kids, before they make an emotional decision, they catch themselves like, oh, Coach James is saying this, and here's where I'm at in my life right now. So they don't make an abrupt decision. Mental health is very important these days, you know what I'm saying? And it's not emphasized. And there's so many other things that are also important, but basketball gives you a level of understanding if you're able to translate what you're experiencing with your adversities on the basketball team, whether it's practice, teammates, opponents, stuff like that. It's no different. And I want to try to touch as many young lives as I can while I'm here on this earth, and just be grateful throughout the process. It's the journey. So that's
You're doing it,
basically
brother.
what I'm gonna say, and that's it.
You're doing it. And not only that, but with your whole mentality, who you are as a person, your core, to name your company purpose driven, it's only because, once again, you focused on the purpose. And on top of that, what you're speaking about is, you very well may have the opportunity to work with NBA players and probably get paid more, whatever it is. But truth of the matter is, you're impacting the seed before it sprouts out. Right now, you are helping those so that while they're at 6, 7 years old and they're just learning how to kind of dribble, pick up, and cross over and, whatever it is, you're teaching more than ball to those who need it probably more than those that would probably give you that notoriety or that money. And it's an honorable decision to make, brother. It's one that many would not make. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I commend you for doing it, brother.
And I want to wish you many more blessings coming to it, because don't be surprised we see Coach James on ESPN talking about this.
Yes, sir.
No, I appreciate that, guys, man. I really,
yes,
both of y'all, thank you for having me. And just want to be a positive, influence to my community. Obviously I'm living here on the West Coast, but also in where I'm from. And it's very important, or nationwide or worldwide. You know what I'm saying? Just, I like, literally, it's crazy. Some of my DMs, I'm getting kids from other countries and stuff like that. And I can't respond to every single person, but I try to, like, in my post, answer their questions. You get what I'm saying? So they can follow me and be more dialed in with me, because, if I answer all the DMs, you'll be here all day. You know what I'm saying? So, but I want to teach on a platform where you could touch as many people worldwide. So at the end of the day, we have better people, because, in this world right now, there's a lot of separation. And I think sports, obviously with race or whatever the case may be, race, religion, whatever the case may be, there's a lot of separation. And I think that sports brings all ethnicities together, so we can all get a better level of understanding, and learn from each other in a competitive, but in a loving manner. And that's the world I want to help, influence.
Damn, that's dope, man. So, you running for some type of seat, man?
No, man.
Presidents for 2024, man. Let's get
it. Thank you for coming and blessing this podcast.
Definitely, thank you for having me, man. All right.
Yeah. Yo, much love, man. And whatever you ever need, you already know, man. I got you. No matter what time of the day, Sam Maz got you.
Yes.
I seen the video, man. I seen the jump shot. You all right? You know what I'm saying?
It's getting a little better. It's looking a little better.
Just a tad.
Yeah.
Listen, B, I'll say this before we get off of here. My brother James will put in that work at any given time, man. And I done seen people talk a lot, but I seen my brother's game. You know what I'm saying? So, listen, man, keep doing what you're doing, man. You know what I mean? It's going to tenfold and beyond, man, give you back the riches of which many cannot, ever get to and ever get to that level just based off of why you're doing it, man. You're doing it with purpose. You're doing it with drive. You're doing it for the culture. You're running for it. You know what I mean? Put it all together, man. Purpose-driven training with the culture running on top of that. You know what I'm saying? So you doing everything that needs to be done for somebody who's righteously living and has been for the years that I've ever, since you was in Pampers, man. Always been the same. You know what I mean?
Always same, man.
Yeah, shout out to you, brother.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man. Get back to your lovely family, man. Again, tell your brother I said what's up, man. Hugs and everything for your 3 babies, man. And tell your wife thank you very much for allowing you to, giving us that time to be able to get on here, man.
I appreciate it, man. Y'all enjoy that. Y'all enjoy your night. Thank you for having me.
Sir.
Hopefully, it'll be an entertaining boxing thing tonight. So we'll talk soon.
Oh yeah. Definitely, I'm here, brother.
We'll talk, man.
Peace.
All right, later.
And with that being said, until next time, we're going to see you in the next episode of Sound Minds. Let's do this countdown. 1, 2, 3. Sound
Minds. Let's get it.
Peace.